Our guest for today is Matt Gonzalez. He's an American politician, lawyer, and activist prominent in San Francisco politics. He was also one of the first Green Party candidates elected to public office in the Bay Area. Matt's progressive campaign is credited with pushing the Democratic victor of the race, Gavin Newsom, to the left and forcing Newsom to embrace progressive policies like gay marriage. Matt is currently running as Ralph Nader's vice presidential candidate for the Independent Party.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man who wants to save America and democracy, how's that for nonpartisan? And you can donate to the campaign at votenader.org. And if you live in the Bay Area, Mr. Gonzalez will be appearing, I never thought I could say this, this is awesome, with former Dead Kennedys frontman Jeff Biafra Friday, October 28th at UC Berkeley, and he's my friend on Facebook. Mr. Matt Gonzalez, how's it going?
It's going quite well. How are you?
Good, man.
Good.
Thank you so much for calling the show. That means a ton, and I'm already getting emails of people who are excited that you called in.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm glad to be on your show.
Fantastic. So listen, I don't know how much we have a bunch of questions. I don't know how much time you have, but I think before we ask any of the questions, I just wanted to tell you I think that one of the problems, especially with the youth getting excited about politics, is they just, from these other politicians and through the mainstream media, they just get these quick sound bites from politicians, you know, just how do we pull out of Iraq? Hope. And I think they're so used to that they don't actually know the full spectrum of what's going on. So any question we ask, even if you only have time for one, please feel free to go into as much detail as possible. So the first question I wanted to ask you is, we have this kind of theory, because I know it happened to me a while ago, on why a lot of liberals are kind of afraid to give, whether it's the Green Party or independent candidates, and especially this year with you and Ralph, a chance. And I think it's one of those things where they know if they listen to you guys, they're going to agree with your positions, and then that's going to take just a lot of work on their part. But I feel like even liberals, even Obama supporters, when it comes to having you and Mr. Nader in the debates, you know, having an actual progressive candidate in there would be good. So A, hopefully you would have a chance of winning, and you could win and push through progressive agendas. But B, to push the so-called liberal in the debate left.
Sure. I mean, I think that one of the difficulties of running right now is that there are many intellectuals on the left who I think are engaging in a certain degree of dishonesty about this campaign. They feel strongly about issues, but they take the candidates that are trying to advance those issues, and they suddenly say, wait a second, you're a threat to what we want. And, of course, the problem with this is that it's not that we're a threat, it's that everybody's buying into a two-party system and that it can't be different. And they're not listening, I think, sufficiently to our critique of the Democratic Party and the Democratic candidate. We like the rhetoric. We like the message of change and the need to change the culture of Washington. We just think that the messengers, in this case the Democrats, have so failed to deliver on these promises that they're not just not going to deliver, they're going to do the opposite and have done the opposite of what we need for quite some time. You know, before I got into the contest with Nader, I wrote a piece called The Obama Craze, Count Me Out, and it was the result of some of the research I had done on Obama, and I learned that he had supported, you know, the conservatives in a number of places, whether it was class action reform that, you know, Republican big business had wanted for a long time to make it harder to bring class action lawsuits in the state courts, to things like the Energy Policy Act that Obama supported, which gave all kinds of tax breaks to oil companies that were already making record profits in 2005. There was more money for fossil fuel production in that bill than there was for alternative energies. And of course, when we look at the Democrats, you know, we think of Nancy Pelosi's promise that the Democrats would end the war if she became Speaker. Instead, war funding went up $50 billion her first year as Speaker and another $25 billion this year. And Obama has supported all those war appropriations. He has made it clear that concerning the war in Iraq, He wants to escalate the war in Afghanistan, although he says he wants to remove troops from Iraq. When pressed on specifics, he has said that he wants to leave enough troops to do fight counterterrorism there. And there are Democratic think tanks that have estimated that he's talking about 60,000 soldiers there. He's made remarks in interviews talking about private, security force, the private army that is there, that would likely stay there. So we're very concerned about this. Both candidates, McCain and Obama, are also talking about increasing military funding. And the military funding in 2001, which was already considered far too much money for the military, was $300 billion. In 2008, it's at $500 billion, plus another $200 billion for the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. So we've gone from 3 to 7, and our political spectrum is so narrow that both of the leading candidates support this. So one of the big issues that comes up, of course, is like, well, why should people vote for us? How do we get into the debates, as you started to raise? And, of course, the issue with the debates is that you can't, on the one hand, not let us into the debates and then tell us that we're irrelevant at the same time. Both Obama and McCain were in single digits and losing their primaries before they were allowed into the debates of their respective parties and ultimately won the contest. There are clear examples, Governor Ventura in Minnesota, who goes from single digits to winning the contest after allowed into debates. My own race for mayor, I started at 6% and ended at 47%. So it's clear that the issue here is, why aren't we in the debates? Are we not credible enough to be in the debates? And if it's really simply because people may agree with our ideas, then I think we really have to ask ourselves, aren't we rewarding the Democrats and the Republicans when they allow the political spectrum to remain narrow, when they allow us to be excluded from debates? In San Francisco, I think, as you point out, a healthy challenge by a truly progressive candidate that shows the strength of the progressive community makes it clear to the other candidate, even though that candidate wins, that he's going to have to face this again 4 years later unless he realigns his own politics for this new emerging power. And that's what we need with Obama. Power concedes nothing without a demand, Frederick Douglass said, and I think it's the quote that's appropriate for Obama. He's getting the progressive vote, even though he's not making the kinds of promises that he should be making. In fact, he's getting the progressive vote while he's flipping on offshore drilling, while he's talking about how the surge is working. And the only reason he's going to win this campaign is because we are in the worst economic crisis in the history of this country, and John McCain made the regrettable remarks that he's not very good with the economy. That's why Obama's going to win. And let me just end by saying, Obama is wrong when he tells the public that it's the Republicans that are to blame for this economic crisis. You go back to 1999 and 2000, it was bipartisan bills signed by Bill Clinton, including the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act of 99 and the Commodity Futures Modernization Act of 2000. Democratic presidents signed these, and they, in effect, eliminated regulation of these credit derivatives that were being sold all over the place, allowed brokerage firms to merge with insurance and banking companies and repackage mortgages as securities. This is what caused this crisis. So if there was a real debate in this country, these candidates would have to answer a simple question, which is, hey, both your political parties, led to this disaster when they passed these laws. Why should the American people entrust you, with running this country,
Right.
The words that a man